Howdy folks, Grimith here. Welcome to a different kind of Let's Get On With It adventure. I'll be exploring Thousand-Year-Old Vampire, a solo role-playing game created by Tim Hutchings. Been a while since I played one of these, but, well, I do this kind of stuff every day as is. Let's try recording it, see where the road takes us. I learned about this game from longtime friends Manikai and Rahal. I've been role-playing with them for 9 years. They've got a great story they're building together, and I'll link you to it in the video description. They've also got an intro to the rules. You might find that more useful than the cruise we're about to do here. This game has both a published version and PDF. $45 for both, $15 for just a PDF. That said, there's a couple thousand free copies left on itch.io, little stopping you from taking it for a spin. I'll link that as well in the video description. Plenty other journaling RPGs on itch.io too. Might find something else that suits your fancy. Anyway, let's flip through the PDF a bit. Lonely solo role-playing game which you chronicle the unlife of a vampire over the many centuries of their existence, beginning with the loss of mortality and ending with their inevitable destruction. This game's about making gut-churning decisions and resolving difficult narrative threads. We're exploring failings. And perhaps surprising victories. While playing this game, you encounter themes of death, selfishness, and predation. Viewer discretion is advised. Some of these terrible things are going to be emerging from the prompts, and some of them are going to be emerging from the choices I make, which you may not find comfortable, comforting, enjoyable. Take heed. We've got a 10-sided die and a 6-sided die, as seen here. 10-sided die is from my box copy of Dragon Strike, and this is a die I received from Extra Life. Yippee. If we didn't have those, we'd also have random number tables, and of course, we have access to the internet. There are plenty of dice-generating rolling machines. We've got a way to record the vampire story, a character sheet. More on that in a bit. So, memory, skills, resources, characters, and marks are 5 different traits we're going to be keeping track of. Prompts that we encounter over the course of our solo adventure is going to be those prompts will be modifying these traits. Memories and experiences are a core mechanic of this. Every prompt that we encounter is going to generate an experience. Memories are comprised of 3 linked experiences. We can only have 5 memories. So that's a total of 15 experiences linked together in 5 memories. Once we reach that threshold, we're going to have to start dropping memories. Prompts we encounter may also tell us to lose memories as well. Experiences are meant to be single evocative sentences. We'll see. Sentences are... like, there's so many examples in this game that are kinda hack and I just ramshackles smashed together. It offends the sensibilities of all the instruction I had in school. I may end up throwing in 2 sentences as well that are concise and convey what I'm looking to do, rather than salting in semicolons and em-dashes. We'll see. Now, should we desire to keep memories beyond the 5 we can hold in our head, and here's some example experiences, if you're interested in browsing through those, we can create a diary, which counts as a resource where we can fit more memories inside of it. Our vampire doesn't remember what's in the diary. We are relying on the diary and taking it as absolute truth. We cannot modify any of the memories we put in the diary. Those are the rules. Skills are representative of what the vampire can do and might do. When we check the skills, that means the skill has been used to resolve something, but could end up being unchecked so that we can utilize it again. We may also be called upon to lose a skill, which means we're not getting it back. It's no longer a part of our vampire's identity. Resources like Diamond Tiara, or a business empire, or a Roman legion are assets or structures that we can use to resolve situations in the game. And we'll gain and lose those over the course of play. We may also end up with resources that are useless to us. So it goes. Characters are the people with whom the vampire has a relation. Mostly immortal, though we will have immortal relationships as well. Mortals are regular human beings that will die with the passage of time. So about every 4 or 5 prompts, we'll kind of look at the situation, try to suss out how much time has passed depending on the story arc of the prompts. And initially, per the rulebook's recommendation, several prompts that we encounter are going to be in the time immediately after turning into a vampire. We'll just kind of take it as it comes. There might be prompts that cause a whole bunch of time to pass, either because it says as much, or because it just logically makes sense for that kind of time to pass, and when that's the case, the mortals die. We'll figure it out. There might just be stories we tell with the prompts that just don't seem like much time has passed at all. Our vampire will also have marks, which are visible indications of the vampire's undying state, setting them apart from mortal people. Alright, that was jarring. I've not had that error before in OBS, and we're going to keep all of that because I've switched PDF readers. My default PDF reader, Sumatra, has trouble with this rulebook due to the inserts, and ends up shading the rules text, unfortunately so, for reading. Ocular is what I grabbed for reading the PDF for the purposes of recording, and it just turned the memory machine into an Ouroboros, and the encoding was like, what the fuck are you doing, Grimith? And things just grinded to a halt. That's why we're going to keep that first part, and just awkwardly transition now into vampire creation. So, we've got 5 memory slots. We're going to be filling all of those with 1 experience each. The first one encapsulates the life our character had before becoming a vampire. We create at least 3 mortals, add them to the vampire's record sheet. They should be important, but they're not going to be around for very long. Give the vampire 3 fitting skills and 3 fitting resources, and create 3 more experiences interweaving that stuff together. Lastly, create an immortal, the entity responsible for gifting or cursing the character with unlife. Also, give the character a mark, which sets them aside from mortals. So, once you've got 3 skills, 3 resources, a mark, at least 3 mortals, 1 immortal, and 1 experience each of the 5 memories, you've got a character, and can begin playing the game by cruising through prompts, which you will create, lose, and alter the vampire's traits as instructed. Note that every time you answer a prompt, you must create an experience and add it to a memory, unless instructed otherwise. We'll be using our handy-dandy D10 and D6 for our prompt adventures. Yay! We may end up getting a prompt a second time, or a third time. That's cool. We can even get that prompt more times. We'll just slide on down the line to the next prompt. If we do not have a skill to check when we're prompted to do so, we lose a resource instead, and likewise for a resource check, a skill. If that occurs, terrible things have happened and narrate a horrific outcome. If we must lose a skill or resource and can't do that, then the game's over. The game's also over if the prompt says the game is over. There's 2 styles of play, quick game and journaling game. Gonna kind of fuse that stuff together here. There's a blurbs about how to answer prompts in ways that feel natural. Prompts can combine to tell stories, and you can gently reinterpret answers to make better sense of current situations, but not everything has to be strung together. It doesn't all have to be coincidental and flow seamlessly. Things just may end up being there, and just hiccups and blips in the course of your character's life. These things happen. Also got bits about being uncomfortable, overthinking's unhelpful, And prompts are opportunities to learn about history and the real world. There's also stress about this game being about the grind of centuries, that your vampire is going to do terrible things and your vampire is going to forget. And interviews posted in the appendices of this book, the creator really like stresses like the idea of like, I'm forgetting. Let's explore an entity living for a very long time, also forgetting and struggling to survive over the passage of decades and centuries. Like, what will become of that individual who doesn't need to know what they used to, but needs to know how to survive right now in this moment? It's also worth noting that a series of prompts might interrelate to tell a small story. And so, like, you could just have prompts that are focusing on narrow windows of time. And so, not many years pass. But you could also have prompts that say specifically a lot of time is passing, or you can end up being in a situation where, like, okay, this prompt should mean that a great deal of time passes. And that's relevant because our mortal characters will die. That being said, the game does note in the time immediately after awakening, the first several prompts are going to be revolving around that. Again, unless a prompt tells us otherwise. And that's that. Beyond this, we have our prompts, and the background border is better, so we can read the text better, because these inserts don't exist any longer. Yippee! So we'll start counting at prompt 1. So we'll just add 1 to whatever number we roll from our 2 dice, and we'll go from there. Let's actually look at the character I have designed. Like, you know, taking some liberties with history. We obviously have the supernatural we're playing into. And also adding in some dashes of Paradox Interactive's Crusader Kings franchise. I would like to introduce you to Clovis Ravenor, an English physician and alchemist residing in the court of Lord Edmund Grey, Earl of Kent. Upon graduation, Father Francis embraces me, tears falling down his florid cheeks. I am proud of the man you are now. A rejuvenated Lord Grey thanks me for my expert treatment of an old wound suffered in Aquitaine and invites me into his service. Lisette hummed sweetly down the hall this morning, carrying my treatment for her husband. I regret not poisoning him. Samara's skin was pallid, her eyes milky, and her coin non-existent, yet I welcomed her into my home at the dead of night and tended to her maladies. I could not fathom a week later how she catapulted from bed and put her lips to my neck. Single evocative sentences. We're going to take some liberties with that, and if I decide that 2 sentences are better, then 1 fucking just hack silver sentence salted with punctuation marks, we'll do that. Fuck you, I'm playing this. As for our non-memories, Clovis is a trained physician. That's in the English sense of being someone who diagnoses and treats internal injuries, as opposed to the American sense of a general practitioner. Also a skilled apothecary. I felt that important to add there, because it's also something I want to stress for Clovis. Clovis has an understanding of how to, like, use substances to create treatments, and how to use substances to create untreatments. Clovis also has a disarming smile. Flashes it, puts you at ease. He's got medical tools. He has the essential herbs and spices, for being a skilled apothecary. And he also has court finery. Gotta keep up appearances, you know? The characters are Edmund Grey, a middle-aged nobleman, and my liege lord. Edmund Grey is in his 40s at this particular time. He has been knighted. He served in Aquitaine. And due to a marriage that happened with his first son to some lady Woodbourne, whose name currently escapes me, because as it turns out, mid-1400s English history is not my specialty. Edmund Grey gets this title. Earl of Kent. We have Father Francis, an elderly ordained priest. He raised me. Orphanage is not super a thing, churches end up raising those folks, and so Clovis was raised by Father Francis. We have Elizabeth Lisette Moore, a beautiful servant at court. She is married to another. And we have Samara Zrika, a Moroccan exile and vampire. She rewarded my care. As for marks, my eyes are hypnotic, so I must wear smoked glasses. That is one of the book suggestions for marks, and I thought that could swing in. It creates a bit of awkwardness for the physician doing his work as he has to get close to people. Also ends up complicating things, all the problems with being a vampire, and also wanting to be a trained physician and skilled apothecary. We'll see where the story takes us. Alright, that's a review of the character. I'll be plugging prompts into this tab as I encounter them. That way, I don't have the PDF flashed in front of your eyes for too long, so that you're not getting spoilers about what other prompts could be that we're not getting. And we'll go from there. Great? Got that? Cool. Let me see if everything fuses together appropriately. Cool. Future Grimith will be able to save everything, and the awkward transition will not be in vain. Yay! Let's play 1,000-year-old vampire. I don't typically roll with my left hand. We'll probably figure it out, yeah? You know what? We'll keep that in, too. Fuck it. Alright, we've got a 7 minus 2. Of course, we're starting from 1, so we're going to be ending up on prompt 6. Let's have a gander at prompt 6. Meow. A mortal character begins serving you. Who are they? Why are they drawn to you? Create a new mortal character. Okie dokie. We can do that. Let's pull the character sheet back up. And we'll call this 6. And we'll say that. Huzzah. And I will just fix that text there. This is all stalling as I think about the mortal character beginning to serve me. So I think there's a natural tie-in with Father Francis here, who raised Clovis. It stands to reason then that Francis, in his advanced age, comes to Clovis and asks Clovis to take on an apprentice, just a youth of some kind, you know, late teens, reminds Francis of Clovis and figures that Clovis can help this youth walk the path. Yeah, sure. Okay. That seems pretty good to me. So, we'll call him... I mean, I'm coming up with a bunch of fucking William, Thomas, John. We'll say... William, last name pending, surname pending. So, William is not, like, going to college to get, like, teaching. Though, I don't think that was made a separate thing until, like, the 1500s for, like, a college of physicians in England. Listen, man, again, English history during this time period. Not my specialty. We'll say a... teenager sent by Francis for training. Or, tutelage. Mortal character begins serving you. Who are they? Why are they drawn to you? Create a new mortal character. Okay. So we'll do that. And in regards to memories, that's a natural tie-in to Memory 2. Upon graduation, Father Francis embraces me, tears falling down his floored cheeks. I am proud of the man you are now. So how am I going to word that into a concise sentence? Something like, I'll just type it down here. Ooh, we need to. Why is that text Arial? No. Grimith needs the big fonts. The big fonts. His eyes are not that powerful. So, years later, the elderly father calls upon me and asks me to care for William as he cared for me. It's a bit of an unclear pronoun there, as Francis cared for me. That being said, Francis raised Clovis, so it's not quite the same. Elderly father calls upon me and asks me to care for William. To help William learn my craft. Yeah, sure. That works. Years later, the elderly father calls upon me and asks me to help William learn my craft. Alright. I'll be able to fit one more experience into that memory, and that memory will be complete. Pretty simple to me. Let's go again. Okay, that is a 7 minus 6. We're moving forward 1. Let's go. Your body manifests some trait related to the vampire that created you. How do you become more like them? Create a skill that reflects this. Alright. Plug that into my prompt log. So, reflecting on Samara. Clovis finds her, well, I can't say finds her, per, like, the memory, her skin was pallid, her eyes milky, and her coin non-existent. Yet I welcomed her into my home at the dead of night and tended to her maladies. Clovis, like, takes care of her just out of, like, goodness and also curiosity. Like a puzzle to solve. Like, whether he can help this woman who doesn't, you know, she's got some oddities about her. And in reward for aiding her, as he did, she turns him. And I imagine, given that sort of thing, Samara's probably lingered around here for a time, Moroccan exile, has probably shared some, gosh, the, what is it, empire, the dynasty that's probably down there at this period of time in North Africa. We'll just say the Berbers. Clovis is probably paying mild attention, but isn't too damn hard. Like, he's not, you know, he's not really got a head for history. Well, he's a learned scholar. He's more exploring himself. So perhaps tying into what I wrote, if we're going to create a skill, and that's what the text said, yeah? Create a skill that reflects this. How do you become more like them? That skill would end up relating to the intense, like, sort of like athleticism, a surprise. Now, there is a descriptor that I'm thinking of that's from Blades in the Dark. Let me go ahead and pull up that book here. Here we go. The Devil's Footsteps, a special ability from the Lurk. I like that. That's what we'll call this skill. Let's go ahead and close out of that. God forbid we start flipping to that instead of being on 1,000-year-old vampire PDF. Non-memories. Skills. The Devil's Footsteps. Now, how do I articulate that? Body manifests some trait related to the vampire that created you. How do you become more like them? Create a skill that reflects this. Under her tutelage, under her guidance. A lot of tutelage happening here in Clovis's early life. In the weeks afterward, how do I want to, like, write these? Like, what sort of tense do I write? Want to, like, keep writing these memories? Like, I'm transitioning in my tenses. Memories don't have to make sense, I fucking guess. These sentences are allowed to be oddly constructed. In the months to come. In the intervening months. In the ensuing months? In the following months. Samara showed me to move as she did. With feats of athletics that verge on the superhuman. Pulling directly from the descriptor text of Devil's Footsteps in Blades of the Dark. Okay. And that naturally ties into the Moroccan exile. Go ahead and tie in a bit of, like, her flavor. The Moroccan exile. Feats athletics that verge on the superhuman. That's not, like, supremely defined, but you can sort of imagine how that looks in your head. That's good. That's good, alright. That's what I'm looking for there. And I should add an extra bit to this, because that's something that involves this character as well. An extra, like, sentence fragment. And taught me how to use my new talents. And taught me how to use my new talents. Yeah, okay. Great. Looks good to me. Let's cycle back to the... Close that. Let's cycle back to the book. Three minus 2. Another one. That is 3 minus 2, right? Yeah. D10 minus D6. You are recognized for what you are by another creature like yourself. Create an immortal character, lose a resource, and gain a skill. What did you lose to them? Flip this back. Prompt log. We are crawling through these prompts, I suppose. Oh. Recognized for what you are by another creature like yourself, create a moral character, lose a resource, and gain a skill. What did you lose to them? So maybe it'll help me figure out what I'm going to lose by taking a look at my resources. So I've got medical tools, I've got the essential herbs and spices, and I've got court finery. What the fuck am I losing here? Let me look at, scroll back through the rule book here, or prompts book, to look at the suggested immortal characters. They don't have to be vampires, they can be angels, demons, I'll show you guys this. Angels or demons, ghosts, scientific experiments gone wrong, forgotten deities, underground lurkers, meddlesome ancestors, invisible shamblers, softly spoken anime corpses, household gods or spirits, disembodied heads enduring cursed existences under bell jars, or anything else suitably bizarre. So, perhaps cycle back to the character sheet here. What I'm expending here for a resource, and that's what the prompt has asked me to do, lose a resource. What I'm going to be losing is the essential herbs and spices. We're going to say that Samara is, like, she came to us, she got healed, yeah? Like, her malady, her affliction, like, obviously she's still a fucking immortal vampire, but she was in a really bad state. And Clovis, as skilled and adept and wondrous as he is, he's really overqualified to be in his the position that he's in. He manages to bring succor to her, to comfort, which causes Samara to turn him. So in the process, perhaps then this other immortal character comes, perhaps having gotten some glimpse of reputation on that front. That word has spread and has asked, and perhaps it's a scientific experiment gone wrong here, having asked for assistance too, for Clovis to intervene and have a gander. So I'm gonna lose the essential herbs and spices. We'll go ahead and cross that out. I gain a skill. The skill? How about we phrase it as something like forbidden lore? What does it mean? Can't tell you. Clovis knows things no one should know. Who forbids it? Not allowed to know that either. But he knows those things. This immortal character, what the fuck? How do I... is it like a Frankenstein's monster-looking motherfucking thing? Is it like a brain in a jar? Like an intellect devourer-looking thing? How about I just... to keep this moving... I sort of chew over this. Why don't we phrase this as a immortal thing that should not be. Scientific monstrosity that came seeking my aid. which sought my aid. Whom sought my aid? Requesting my aid. Which wanted my aid. So, then, based on the skill I gave myself, and what I crossed off here in the story I've just told, I'm recognized for what I am by another creature like myself. What did I lose to them? This doesn't, like, have, like, a leaning that it has to be, like, a positive or negative interaction, one way or the other. So I think based on the story that I've told here, it's gonna be positive. Samara got aid from us. The thing that should not be. This amorphous, like, vague-looking motherfucking thing. I don't even know how I want to describe it, how I want to articulate that, how I want to visualize it. It's basically just like just some shadowy thing that I haven't given full definition in my mind. Wanted my aid. I was partially successful. And in exchange, the thing that should not be taught me knowledge that should not be. Do I want to tie this in with my fifth memory? If I do not, I will have to create a new memory. Alternatively, I tie this into my first memory. No, that like it would show like my expanding like role and like knowledge skill set or Clovis's. I don't think that would really fit. If I was to just remove a memory entirely, it would be number 4. Where the infatuation with Lysette just fades away. It's not important. Our character is... Clovis is focused on other things. Not that he's gonna forget about Lysette. You know, she's still around, she's still there, but rather, like, the desire for her to be his. Just thinking about that, like, I'd put, like, Lysette down in her existence as a, you know, a story hook to, like, you know, swing off of one of these prompts and tell something, you know, tragic or brutal or cruel, depending on the situation. But I think in the face of this, we're gonna say that's just irrelevant now. This will be our first forgotten memory. I'll paste that here. Grimith will frown deeply. He's pretty confident that he told this, Here we go. Paste that text in there. And I'll just, there's no need to strike that through. That's in the forgotten category. How do I want to word this? My reputation preceded me. As Master Physician. Could also tie into, like, Memory 3 if I'm gonna angle it like that, but no. We'll just forget about, the infatuation I'm pining for Lysette. Who knows? It could always fucking come back, right? Our characters just moved on. So... a bizarre amalgamate of supernatural science came seeking comfort from its maladies. A bizarre amalgamate. I just want to say amalgam? Grimith momentarily cycles to... yeah, we'd say amalgam. Amalgam of... magic and science. Arrived at my doorstep, seeking aid. I provide... Right, we gotta string together sentence. I provided what succor I could, and it taught me. What I should never know in exchange. Alright. A bizarre amalgam of magic and science arrived at my doorstep seeking aid. I provided what succor I could, and it taught me what I should never know in exchange. I feel good about that. I could, like, tighten that sentence up. That's evocative enough. I'm only now realizing how attached I was to this idea of Lisette. And, perhaps poisoning her fucking husband or something. It's kind of fucked up. Anyway, let's keep it moving, shall we? That is 7 minus 2, 5. Let's see what's up. As soon as I get back down there. Oh. Turn that... Hey, you show pages continuously. You put that back on, damn it. So that's gonna be 13. Generations of the same family serve you. This line starts from any living mortal character or from the descendants of a dead mortal character. What bizarre... Oh, excuse me, I should remove that, huh? What bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? Lose a resource and create a servitors of the lineage resource. What the fuck do I do with this? Okay. Where do I go from here? So how does this happen? Generations of the same family serve me. So that could imply a bunch of time passes. That could also imply that multiple generations end up just falling under my, like, control. Under Clovis's control. This line starts from any living mortal character from the descendants of a dead mortal character. Alright. Well, none of the mortal characters are dead yet. As for living mortal characters, we have Edmund Grey, our liege lord, Father Francis, who raised us, an elderly ordained priest. We have Lisette Moore, a beautiful servant at court, who is married to another, and we've just sort of like... It's just sort of been like, irrelevant to us. And then we have William Surname Pending, a teenager sent by Francis for tutelage. But the line starts from any living mortal character. I guess I could create a character which fits in with this? Though I'm not being told to create a character fitting in with this. Hold on, let me... I know I'm allowed to massage these prompts, but let's flip back here. A helpful character. I'm also like stalling as I'm just kind of trying to think this through in my head. Let me put you guys back in the source book here. Go to characters. It makes sense to include a character when rolling a prompt. Do so even if the prompt doesn't tell you to include a character. And create a new character if a prompt instructs you to include one, but none are available. Okay, we're not being instructed to create a prompt or create a character. This prompt wants us to spring off of this, and so that means generations are going. Let's not go cruising through those. Yeah. Let's go back to the character sheet. How the fuck does this happen? And whose descendants will it be? So Father Francis is out. He sent me William, but he doesn't have any, like, children of his own. And also, since generations are passing, he's fucking dead. Lysette Moore? Could be that, I guess? Just ends up being assigned under the character? By Edmund Grey, and then time passes, and like the other Earls of Kent just sort of keep that moving along too. We'll put a pin in that idea. William? He's a teenager sent by Francis for tutelage, but in regards to the prior text of him being drawn to us, which I didn't bother, like, expanding upon that. If we hook back into that, maybe he just sees something in us, and rather than him leaving, the hypnotic gaze of our character attracts William and compels him, and so he just stays. There are things Clovis needs done that he cannot do, and William becomes Renford in a way, and just lingers and loiters around. The alternative I could see is if the the Earls of Kent end up becoming servants of Clovis. As that time passes, we're gonna say no to that. Okay. Generations of the same family serve you. This line starts from any living mortal character or from the descendants of a dead mortal character. What bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? Lose a resource and create a servitors of the lineage resource. What the fuck am I losing? I got medical tools and I got court finery. Ugh. Alright. So, I guess wouldn't make much sense if Clovis isn't really making appearances at court, that he's gonna have this on his own. It's the... Either that or medical tools. I guess those could be consumed in the bizarre rituals which are tied to servitude? What the hell do we even do with the servitors of the lineage resource? Okay. We lose the court finery. It's just no longer relevant to Clovis. He does not care about it anymore. What does he care about these appearances? And if generations are passing by, Lysette could very well still be alive. I can't say that. But we're just gonna go ahead and cross her off anyway. And we're gonna boot these kids down to the bottom. Like so. There we go. We'll put this immortal above William. And we'll say, sent by Francis for his tutelage, spawned a lineage of servants in my name. Spawned a lineage of servants in my name. And his surname pending is fucking irrelevant. It doesn't matter who he was. He's, old Willie. He's still alive. Him and his progeny. Good for him. I'm gonna need to put the comma. Or there, or I'm gonna flip my shit. And this is trying to keep track of all of my windows I have open while recording this. Servitors of the lineage. Servitors of the lineage resource. What the fuck does that do for me? Whatever it is that I imagine. It's not like I've got, like, opulent riches or a manor. I've just got old Willie and his progeny. What bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? We're gonna say it's something, religious in nature, given, old Willie's, like, background, which came from Father Francis. So, it's gonna be like a communion thing, I guess. Only they drink Clovis's blood. And this is definitely going to fill in Memory 2 and complete Memory 2. Fucked up shit. All right. I could not fathom then how useful old Willie and his children would be to my success. Bound as they are by ritual. By my ritual of blood. Forbidden lore, right? Upon graduation, Father Francis embraces me, tears falling down his florid cheeks. I am proud of the man you are now. Years later, the elderly father calls upon me and asks me to help William learn my craft. I teach old Willie that and so much more. Fathom is too florid of a word. Could not imagine. I had no idea. Especially since I already used I could not fathom. Like here, I'm repeating that phrase. Let's be evocative in a different way. maybe something like, why don't we just put in a new sentence? Old Willie became an inseparable part of my new lifestyle, and his progeny were bound to me by my ritual of blood. I like that sentence better. Yeah, that's evocative, and it's ominous. And it finishes off memory, too. I'm Clovis Ravenor, an English physician and alchemist residing in the court of Lord Edmund Grey, Earl of Kent. Upon graduation, Father Francis embraces me, tears falling down his florid cheeks. I am proud of the man you are now. Years later, the elderly father calls upon me and asks me to help William learn my craft. Old Willie becomes... Here I am blending tenses together into fucking memories. Became an inseparable part of my new lifestyle, and his progeny were bound to me by my ritual of blood. Rejuvenated Lord Grey thanks me for my expert treatment of an old wound suffered in Aquitaine, invites me into his service. A bizarre amalgam of magic and science arrived at my doorstep seeking aid. I provided what succor I could, and it taught me what I should never know in exchange. Samara's skin was pallid, her eyes milky, and her coin non-existent. Yet I welcomed her into my home at the dead of night and tended to her maladies. I could not fathom a week later how she catapulted from bed and put her lips to my neck. In the following months, the Moroccan exile showed me to move as she did, with feats of athletics that verge on the superhuman. Yeah, that feels pretty strong. We've buffed out old Willie here. We've crossed out court finery as they wear it, and the sort of like decadent shit. What are the like Magic the Gathering like packs, sort of like event things? Was a vampire wedding, and so just imagine like that gala and all of the decadence and blood there. And it's a sort of visualization I have. As the generations have passed, Clovis still remains here in service, most likely not to Edmund Grey anymore, but to his first son died while Edmund Grey was alive. So I'm probably looking at his second son here. George Grey? Yeah, something like that. Maybe in the future we'll transition to, like, serving a King of England. If generations have passed, then the War of Roses has ended by this point, I would say. Okay, with the passing of generations, that seems like a good breakpoint. What I'll do here is, I'll make a copy of this spreadsheet I've assembled, and I'll put a link to that in the video description, just so you can have a review of what I've done, and maybe if you want to use, like, Google Docs, like, make a copy of this yourself, for whatever reason. Let me know if you're interested in continuing to explore the story of Clovis Ravenor. Also, let me know if you're interested in joining me, like, coming along on more of these journaling solo role-playing game experiences. So far, I have told a... it's been a ride. Thanks to Tim Hutchings, and thanks to my friends Rahal and Manikai. Take care, everyone. We'll chat later. Bye.